Hello and welcome to our NCBE PCR Kit Part 2. So in the last bit we extracted chloroplast DNA from our plants. Now what I've done is I've labelled a 1.5ml tube for each of the plants that we did. So I've got a spinach, a spring onion, a grass and a stringless bean tube. So what we're now going to do is we're going to punch out holes from our dry FDA card, because this has been now left to dry for at least an hour at room temperature, as we mentioned in part 1. And then using this very helpful little tool that's included in your kit, we're going to punch out holes from each of our plants. So that one is for the spinach there. And then using the blue wire, which is also included in your kit, you can poke this down the middle of your hole puncher. And then this will then push out the little disc from your FDA card. And you can see the wire coming out the bottom there, and now you have got a nice disc from your spinach. So what's important to do then is, before you move on to your next plant, is then just to punch out a hole from just a white piece of FDA card, and this just helps clean the hole puncher. So now moving on to the next plant. So just repeating then again, punching this out and then using the wire to transfer the disc into the tube. And again, cleaning the hole punch in between. So I'm just going to quickly show you now then for the spring onion and the grass. And then you can see your FDA card's now got various holes in it where you've punctured those out. So now we're going to move on to washing the DNA samples that are contained within our FDA discs. So within your kit you will have a syringe and some rubber tubing, and this actually allows you to put a tip on the end of the syringe, so it acts a bit like a pipette. Now these tips are graduated, so you can tell how much liquid that you are taking up. So what we want to do first is, using our purification reagent, we want to take up 100 microliters. So that is going to be the top increment, the top graduation on your tip. So you suck up the liquid to that point and then transfer it into the tube that has your disc in. So now to show you this, instead of you watching me do all 4 of those, I'm just going to show you for one. So I'm just showing you for the first of the tubes. So I've popped 100 microliters of purification reagent then into the tube, and then I'm going to set a timer for 2 minutes. So what you want to do is, during that 2 minutes, every 30 seconds, you want to give it a really good flick, a really good mix, to ensure that the FDA disc is being really well washed. So that's the timer going off just now. So I'm just going to get a last little mix, and then what you need to do is, again, using your syringe and using the same tip that you used previously, you want to try and remove as much of that purification reagent as possible from the tube, including the bubbles that will have formed. So something very important to mention then is, when you are taking the liquid up, is be careful to only take it up into the tip, not up into the syringe and rubber tubing. Otherwise you can contaminate things going forward. So just take up enough to fill your tip, empty out into whatever you're using for your waste. So I'm using a beaker here, and then go in again to get some more. And this may take you a few times. So once you've got everything out, and obviously being careful not to remove your disc as well, because occasionally it can stick to the tip. You can see I've still got my disc at the bottom there, so just keep an eye on it. You're then ready to put in your next lot of purification reagent. So you're just going to do exactly the same again. So another 100 microliters, you can just use the same tip up to the top graduation, and then into your tube with your FDA card disc. So you can see again 100 microliters, and then I'm going to pop that into the tube with the FDA card DNA disc. And then once again I'm just going to do exactly the same again, so another 2 minutes then, with mixing, flicking, every 30 seconds. So you can see I've speeded the time up a little bit here, just so that you get the general idea though. So after the 2 minutes then, once again, remove all the liquid, and it's really important to try and remove as much as possible, particularly after the second wash, before you put in your TE1 buffer. So now you want to put a new tip on, and that's very important before you put your TE1 buffer in. And then again with the TE1 buffer, just as you did with the purification reagent, you want 100 microlitres. So again, up to the top graduation on your tip, and then into the tube with your little disc. And then you're going to do exactly the same as what you did with your purification reagent step. So you're just going to set the timer for 2 minutes, and then every 30 seconds you're going to give it a mix. And what this one is doing though is it is washing the purification reagent off, because there are elements of the purification reagent which can actually inhibit your PCR. So it's really important to now give it a really good wash with the TE1 buffer. So once again then you're just going to remove all of the liquid as well, once that 2 minutes is finished. And again, obviously, as I've said before, so really try and remove as much of the liquid as possible, because if there is anything left over of the purification reagent, you really want to get rid of that before your final wash with the TE1 buffer. So here I'm then just taking 100 microlitres of TE1 buffer then for my second wash, which I'm then just going to put in with the disc. And then once again, last 2 minutes then of washing. And again, flicking every 30 seconds to give it a really good wash, a really good mix. Okay, so that is your DNA disc then washed and ready for your PCR. So join us then for part 3 as to how to set up your PCR. Thank you.